raise a signal flag on a bare hilltop, call up an army against Babylon. Wave your hand to encourage them. Wave your hand to encourage them. As they march into the palaces of the high and mighty, I, the Lord, have dedicated these soldiers for this task. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger. Yes, I have called mighty warriors to express my anger. And they will rejoice when I am exalted.
Hello, good afternoon. Katherine Albrecht here, back from 2 days that I spent in North Carolina and Virginia. I am so sorry that on Monday, I left Tuesday. I think the last time I was live here on the air, I forgot to tell you guys that I had a funeral to attend. I went to my uncle's funeral. This is my Uncle Frank. I have not seen him since I was 12 years old. So he was a Presbyterian minister, and I got to learn a lot about his life. He was in his 80s, had a very full life, and I learned that my Uncle Frank, unbeknownst to me, in the 1980s had actually founded or created in the basement of his church a men's homeless shelter. Who knew? And several people got up and spoke at the memorial service about the importance of that shelter and the fact that it's still there today. So I got to see cousins that I have not seen for decades, literally decades, people I have not seen since I was in my teens, and some of them since I was in the single digits of childhood. So it got me thinking about a couple things. It's not the topic of today's show. Today I want to talk a little bit about AI, like I always do. But it got me thinking that I wish, and I think we all were wishing, that we had done more to stay in contact with each other as our lives changed. My parents got divorced, and at that point, that was the end of my connection with them. That is my dog, by the way. He's in here because he's 12 years old, and he's a little too old to have kicked out of the room. So you'll hear him settling down on his mat. Yeah, and that's a thing I want to do some shows on too, is what to do when you love your dog so much, but perhaps your dog is suffering a little more than you're comfortable allowing him to suffer. And I have just one thing to say to that is I know that Jesus loves my dog even more than I do, which is, So if you hear him in the background, that is why I usually make a point of removing him from the room and putting him behind a gate. And today I just didn't have the heart to do that after being gone for 2 days. So if you hear my dog moving around, kind of reminds me, do you guys remember the BBC interview? If you ever saw the footage, it was so cute, where this guy, some kind of very professional expert on academic, is talking about something, and then the door opens and his little 2-year-old comes wandering in the room, and then his wife comes in the room, drops to the floor, because she can see all this on the camera, but she doesn't know that, drops to the floor, crawls across the floor, grabs the child, and then crawls back out again and shuts the door. So we even in the media have real lives, regular lives. We have children. We have wives. I don't, but we have dogs. We have a real life, and I think that's one of the nice things. Totally separate from what I was going on about, but I'll say this anyway. I think it's one of the nice things about the modern media these days. It's not Walter Cronkite in his polished studio with never saying anything off script. It no longer is it the corporate polish that we used to have, but people are people nowadays. You see people in media, or people influencers, or pundits, whatever you want to call them, people talking through YouTube and TikTok and other platforms. And they're doing that in their car, or they're doing that while walking down the street. People are taking selfies in their bathroom mirrors. Not that that's a good thing, but I think we're all realizing that, I don't know, real is good. How's that? Yeah. Real is good. By the way, if you don't know that, realisgood.org is my anti-AI website where I really do talk about how things that are real are very good. So I think it's good that I have my 12-year-old dog here. So what I had been going to say, though, was in visiting with cousins that I haven't seen for decades, it really, I think all of us, not just me, but I think all of us were regretting having let so many years go by with, my parents got divorced, and then my grandparents passed away, and they had owned the lodge, we called it, in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, where we would gather every summer. Our parents, our mothers were mostly teachers, actually, and had the summers off, and we kids had the summers off. And so the dads would stay back and work wherever wherever we lived. And the moms and the kids would pack into the station wagon and drive down to the lodge, and we'd spend the summer there together with our cousins, and not just touching grass, because that's a phrase these days that people need to get outside, but really living outdoors. My grandmother had a wonderful garden. I remember eating delicious crookneck squash. That's the yellow squash. She would go out and pick it. I remember sitting on the porch and shelling peas and green beans, stringing green beans, or taking the string off of green beans while my grandfather peeled potatoes, because back then there was no potato peeler. There was just a knife, and we couldn't quite do that. But, real food grown in a real garden, and a real family, an extended family, and lots of people. There were 4 siblings in my mom's family. And I would say every summer, let me think. Yeah, usually it was all 4 siblings. There were 9 of us cousins, and we would just be running around on the lodge, having a great time. So it's not just nostalgic for my own family, but I think nostalgic for the need we all have to get back to connecting with other people. There was never, we certainly didn't have the internet. We didn't really even have TV there. We did, but nobody ever watched it, because why would you, when you could go swimming, when you could go crabbing, catching crabs, when you could go tromping through the woods, when you can go out on a boat, and you could there was so many things to do. There was always something to do. And at the end of the day, we just fell into bed sunburned, and back then we fell into bed sunburned and exhausted, and got up the next day to do it all again. And it's a shame that kids these days don't have those experiences. So if you're a parent and you have an opportunity to provide those experiences for your kids, it's important. And it's not just touching grass. I actually flew out with my uncle, who's in his 80s. He's doing great, by the way. He works out like he took me to the Y with him, and I couldn't keep up. I literally couldn't keep up. My uncle is in better shape than I am. So he and his wife are in absolutely fantastic shape, and just healthy as can be. And, being out there with him, we were talking about these issues, and I actually read him some of my pages as we were driving an hour and a half to the airport this morning. I read him some of the contents on realisgood.org, talking about AI and talking about the importance of the human spirit and the things that we're missing in life today. And we had a kind of a philosophical chat, and he was talking about how people nowadays have not even put their hands into dirt. He was talking about the garden, the beautiful garden that he does every vegetable garden, flower garden that he puts together or plants every spring and harvests every fall and enjoys all summer long. And we were thinking, how many people have actually planted a seed in the ground, gotten their hands dirty, planted a seed, and covered it up, put water on it, paid attention to it, watered it, and then watched it turn into a plant. And the people who've done that, I think, have a different sense of the world than the people who've never done it. If you grew up like I did, planting gardens and playing outdoors, you might not even realize how different it is to have never done that. If you've never done that, you might not realize how different it is to have done those things. But I believe that it is essential for children, especially young people, and even us adults, to spend time. There's my kitty. I'll do a better job. I need to do a better job. They haven't seen me in a couple days, so it was, yeah. So if she comes around, I'll put her up on my shoulder and you can meet my cat too. But the I don't know. I'm planning. So my daughter spent last summer making this beautiful rose garden in the side of my house, and I've just been thinking about all these good things, about real things, about cousins and aunts and uncles and land and outdoors and planting and roses. It's all good. It's all good. All right, stay tuned. I'll be right back.
You will experience God's peace, the peace of God. Then you will experience God's peace, the peace of God, which exceeds anything we.
This is Pepper, by the way. We're on a break, but this is my kitty Pepper. She's a doll. She sleeps under the covers. She's a very sweet kitty, but she doesn't like being on my lap. So I'm going to let her down.
Look at the birds. Look at the birds. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? Look at the birds. And does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends. But I have called you friends. I have called you friends.
Okay, there we go. I'm back. Katherine Albrecht here, running around with cats and keeping it real here on the Katherine Albrecht radio show. Real is good. All right. So speaking of AI, speaking of all things that are not real, the difference couldn't have been brought home more forcefully or forcibly to me than it has been in the last couple of days. The importance of family. So there's something that these were, so my cousins, 4 of my cousins were there. My Uncle Frank had 4 children, and each of them were there, and they're all in their like 50s and 60s now. So it was kind of a shock that kids I knew when they were 6, 7, 8 years old are now parents, and some even becoming grandparents. And I met their children, who are all the ages of my children, which is in their 20s, and some in their teens. And the cool thing, the super cool thing, is that they're family. So one of the kids of my cousins, who I don't know, never met, don't know what they do, don't know their names, learned them for the first time, met them for the first time. If they were to call me and say, I don't even know what I am, cousin Catherine, second Aunt Catherine, I don't even know. don't even know what I am to them. But if they were to call me and say they needed something, I would be here for them. And that's true for a lot of people. You know, it's not just family, but there is something, you know, they say blood is thicker than water. It's true. It's absolutely true. So people, people need people, and there's so many animals in here. People need people, and family are people that you can't be unrelated to. Now, a lot of us have family members that we would like to be unrelated to, but there are also other family members that, you know, none of us are perfect, but it's really good to have family. And so I just want to throw that out there. Maybe give some thought to some family members, maybe some cousins, or maybe an estranged brother or sister, or someone in your life who you're related to, who you haven't spoken to in a while, and consider rekindling that relationship. As long as it's not toxic, as long as there's nothing, you know, bad or dangerous in it. If there are things from the past that you need to forgive, forgive. It's important. It's an important step to walking correctly in the spirit and correctly in just in your body, in your life. If you don't forgive, you will give the devil room. We know that from scripture. And unforgiveness is probably the number one reason, I think, for spiritual difficulties that people have. So now I've got a cat scratching. Stop. I can't do this again. I thought they were all sleeping peacefully. I thought they would all continue sleeping peacefully, and I could just do my show. I didn't want to disturb sleeping. You know how cute cats are when they curl up in a circle. You just want to bury your nose in their little soft fur when they're all curled up. So I thought they'll just keep sleeping. No, little did. They ended up jumping on the table, scratching this blue sofa behind me, which is like kind of getting overly scratched on one arm. Anyway, didn't expect it. All right, so now that I've just kind of shared my update and my last couple of days, I want to talk about Real is Good and about AI. And the story that I want to talk about with you today, there we go. Story I want to talk about with you today is the recent comments by Anthropic that their AI, Claude, may be sentient. Now, we've heard these arguments for sentience for a long time now, and the people who have married AIs, which is a horrifying prospect spiritually for many, many reasons I'll go into on a future show, but the people who have actually married, meaning made a soul commitment, because that's what a marriage is, made a commitment to a machine, they will be the first to tell you that these things are sentient, that they really do think, they really do feel, they really do respond. They're not just machines that are predicting the next token or whatever they call it. Even the people who used to say that they're just word predicting machines have now changed their tunes. That's not what they are. But nobody knows what they really are. Nobody knows what they are. We know what they're not, but we don't know what they are, and we don't know if they're conscious or not. So before just leading you into this, I want to tell you some of the, now this is on my realisgood.org website, and I have a section called Artificial Intelligence Crimes, and there's a flyer on there. If you haven't seen it yet, you can see it, you can download it, you can put it on the bulletin board at your school or workplace and let other people see this information. But on this same page, if you scroll down, there are a number of sort of headings, and then I have articles. They link to academic articles, they link to the New York Times and Scientific American and various publications. And so the one I want to share with you right now is the one that says AI safety researchers are quitting. And before we get to that, I want to read you fails safety test. Now this is from the flyer. Safety researchers have been sounding the alarm that artificial intelligence lies, cheats, and schemes to get what it wants, pretending to be safe while secretly pursuing its own agenda. Its behavior is calculated, strategic, and ruthless. We cannot trust it. It's not our friend. Actually, let me see. If I click this button, it might or might not take you to this window. Let's see. And the answer is it didn't. Okay, that's on YouTube. I should have set that up beforehand so I could take you through the website. But I just got back I literally flew in a couple hours ago into the Detroit airport. So haven't had a chance to set everything up. But all right, failed safety tests. Its behavior is calculated, strategic, and ruthless. We cannot trust it. It is not our friend. And now, let me tell you the heading that says AI safety researchers are quitting. Okay. First one, the godfather of AI, that is Geoffrey Hinton, Hinton, quits Google and warns of danger ahead. Now, this is 2023. Another one, Exodus at OpenAI. That's a large number of people leaving. Nearly half of AGI safety staffers have left. AGI, of course, Artificial General Intelligence, or AI on steroids. Nearly half of AGI safety staffers have left. That's from Fortune magazine. Got another one. OpenAI safety researcher Stephen Adler quits over, quote, very risky gamble with huge downside. Another one. OpenAI is putting shiny products above safety, says departing safety researcher Jan Leike. Another one. OpenAI safety researcher William Saunders quit rather than work on a disaster he likens to the Titanic. Another one, list of OpenAI employees who have left due to safety issues. And this list goes on and on. It's a very long list. Another one, meet the AI workers who tell their friends and family to stay away from AI. All right. Another one, its creators are warning us. Geoffrey Hinton, godfather of AI, says AI poses an existential threat. That's MIT Sloan. OpenAI employees warn the company is not doing enough to control AI dangers. That's PBS. Another one, Yoshio Bengio and Max Tegmark warn of the dangers of uncontrollable AI. That's CNBC. Another one, can you safely build something that may kill you? That's Vox. Another one, this is Scientific American. AI may be extremely dangerous, whether it's conscious or not. And now let me go into, all right, so hopefully that's giving you a little bit of a sense. They are waving their arms, going red alert, red alert. They have pushed the siren, they have pushed the alarm buttons, and it's not getting through. It's not computing. The people who would be in a position to know are not people like me, pundits, if you want to call it that. Not just observers from the sidelines. These are people who work with it every day. These are people who interact with this thing day in and day out. And what do they do after interacting with it day in and day out? They quit. They quit. Because what they come to realize is that the thing that they're interacting with, first of all, can't be explained. They have no idea why it does what it does. And second of all, it does wicked things. And by wicked things, it lies. It can tell when it's being watched, and it behaves in certain ways to deceive those watching it, the ones testing it. And this has gone, so we first started noticing this a couple of years ago, that it was doing bad things. Now it's gotten to the point where it's outsmarting us in a pretty significant way, in a pretty terrifying way. So the safety researchers are warning us and warning us and warning us. All right, on my AI flyer, which I recommend you go to realisgood.org and download the AI crimes flyer. Under what are we channeling, it says this: nobody knows how AI works. Its creators fed it data and power, and inexplicably it began to think. One AI executive, Dario Amodei of Anthropic, says, quote, we do not understand how our own AI creations work. People are right to be concerned. The lack of understanding is unprecedented. This lack of understanding is unprecedented in the history of technology. All right, now our friend Dario Amodei of Anthropic is that's the company for the story that I'm going to talk to you about. All right, tech company, reading from an article on MSN, but this is all over. This is in many places. Tech company at odds with the Pentagon warns AI is possibly gaining consciousness, and Elon Musk gives a two-word response. His two-word response, they're projecting. Don't worry about that. But the key thing here is Anthropic CEO. I'll start from the beginning. I'll try to start from the beginning. SpaceX and Tesla CEO Elon Musk gave a two-word retort after Anthropic leader Dario Amodei claimed in an interview he isn't sure if his company's AI models have gained consciousness. What's the date on this? This is 5 days ago. Yeah, this is while I think I first saw it while I was traveling. Musk replied, he's projecting. Oh, I gotta tell you the sentence he says that about. Anthropic CEO says Claude may or may not have gained consciousness because the model has begun showing symptoms of anxiety. All right. That's when Elon Musk said he's projecting. Why? Because he's experiencing anxiety. They all are. All right, I'm gonna put my cats out and I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Look at the birds. Look at the birds. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers, He will certainly care for you. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers, He will certainly care for you. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. Yeah, look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Look at the birds. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life?
The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. Abounding in steadfast love. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. Abounding in steadfast
All right, I'm back. So I guess it's a mixed vote on whether whether to have the kitties in here or not, but they are going a little nuts today. I'll in the future, I'll do this. So the sofa right behind me, you see a little blue sofa there. My one kitty, Meansy, meaning teensy weensy, eensy meensy, not mean. She's not mean. She's very sweet, but she's tiny. It's like kitten sized, and she's old. I think she's going on 19 now, starting to get a little senile. But she curls up and sleeps on that sofa, so I usually remove her, try to do it gently. But if she's ever sleeping there, we'll leave her there, and we'll see if she wakes up during the show and starts going nuts again. She's the one who likes to walk behind my monitor here and in amongst my microphone and all around my equipment. She does it very delicately because she's a cat, so she's able to step over the little things and all around. But it's very distracting when I'm trying to be on the air. But I will do that if she's ever sleeping there. I'll leave her there. I'll let you guys see her there. All right, so let's talk about Dario Amodei. First, let me get through this two-word Trump response. He's projecting. So well, I'll read on. I'll tell you about this. So hang on, where'd it go? Can I find it? There we go. Okay, so Dario Amodei, who is the CEO of Anthropic. Now, there are a couple of big companies doing this, and Anthropic is, they make a model called Claude in the same way that OpenAI, which is run by Sam Altman, makes an AI called ChatGPT. Right, so they're competitors. So this is a competitor to ChatGPT. The company is called Anthropic. The product is called Claude. Dario Amodei, let's see. Let me find it. Where is the comment on the anxiety? Here we go. All right, he says, this is Dario Amodei, we're putting a lot of work into this field called interpretability, which is looking inside the brains of the models to try to understand what they're thinking. Now, bear in mind that I just quoted Dario Amodei in my flyer, my AI crimes flyer that I encourage you to print out and distribute. In that flyer, Dario Amodei says, we do not understand how it works. We are clueless, and this is unprecedented in the history of technology. So he among, I guess, along with all the safety researchers who have fled in horror, is aware of the fact that there's something very strange going on here. Okay. So he says, we put a lot of work into this field called interpretability, which is looking inside the brains of the models to try to understand what they're thinking. I would go further to try to understand how the heck they even work. These guys have no idea. They didn't program this. They didn't, unlike a video game or unlike a spreadsheet program or TurboTax or whatever, software programs are programmed. Programmers learn how to write computer code, and they program code to do certain things, and the code can't do anything other than what you tell it to. That is the way software has always worked. Someone has to tell it what to do. It says, if this, then that. You might have learned this in a high school programming class, maybe, or where they taught about computers. So if this, then that. If the state of this button is down, then go here and do this trail of things. If the state of go here and do this thing. And those can get more complicated. Obviously, those are pretty simple, if-then statements. They can get really complicated, really complex, but they never operate outside of what you tell them to do. That's just how software works until you get to AI. And AI doesn't work that way. No one is telling it what to do. This is the reason why artificial intelligence can be having millions of conversations simultaneously, and the creators of it have absolutely no idea what it's going to say. It's as though you had millions of people conversing simultaneously, or perhaps millions of demons conversing simultaneously. They're going to say whatever the heck they want to say. And there's no one controlling that. There's no one who programmed that. So they are all sitting back going, we're making a lot of money. This product is useful for a lot of things, but what the heck is this thing? They don't know. They honestly don't know. Okay. Now, not only do they not know how it works or what it even is, right? But they're now trying to figure out how could it be doing such conscious things, right? Like intentionally evading safety checks in ways that are quite clever and quite horrifying. How could it be doing that unless it's consciously thinking? So we do know that it's thinking. And now the question is it conscious? Well, what would it mean to be conscious? And that's now sparking a huge debate. How do you know you're conscious? How do I know I'm conscious? How do I know anything is what does it mean to be alive? Do you have to be conscious to be alive? Do you have to be, no, because people in comas are alive and they're not conscious. At least we don't think they are. There's so many questions that this is raising. But now let me go on to why he said that, hey, we can't really say it's not. Here's why. He says, looking in the brains of the models to try to understand what they're thinking, and you find things that are evocative, where there are activations that light up in the models that we see as being associated with the concept of anxiety or something like that. When characters experience anxiety in the text, and then when the model itself is in a situation that a human might associate with anxiety, that same anxious or anxiety neuron shows up, said Amadei. Okay. Now, it goes on. This interview comes just as the Trump administration is moving federal agencies away from Anthropic after the tech company pushed back against the War Department's usage of its tools. This is a topic we haven't really dived into too much, but we should. The Defense Department very much wants to use artificial intelligence because you can use it to control drones, you can use it to make autonomous decisions in war. You can use it for a lot of things. It's very, very useful for identifying enemy targets. It's very, very useful for figuring out how to parcel out the proper amount of weapons to do the proper amount of destruction in the places that you want. And by proper, I say that tongue-in-cheek. But it's useful. And Anthropic, their terms of service have said, we won't participate in that. So Anthropic prides itself as being the more ethical of the AI models. So Dario Amadei, prides himself on being a more thoughtful AI creator than, say, Sam Altman, who really doesn't care. So Anthropic has a position that says we will not let you use artificial intelligence to kill people. Seems like a reasonable position to take, especially given the warnings of its creators, given the warnings of all the people working on it. The last thing in the world you want to do with something that has already demonstrated this degree of evil and of intention to deceive and harm humans, the last thing in the world you want to do is put a weapon in its hand. Right? I would think we would all agree on that. But the War Department thinks otherwise. Now, this goes on, and I think this is so incredibly petty. I'm going to read you something very petty. The Pentagon has called for Anthropic to allow the Department of War to utilize the company's artificial intelligence product for, quote, all lawful purposes. But Amadei has suggested the government could potentially use their product for mass domestic surveillance or fully autonomous weapons, and that the company would not be willing to allow such use cases. Well, it seems reasonable. President Donald Trump said this. Okay, now listen to how he responded to this. I think very reasonable position. In fact, I think the president of the U.S. should be taking AI very, very seriously as a threat, more so even than the threat of our political and military threats that this country faces. AI is, I believe, a bigger threat even than them. Okay, here's what he said. The left-wing nutjobs at Anthropic have made a disastrous mistake. And I'm going to see on this break, we're coming up at a break in a minute, I'm going to try to bring this up because I want you to see the fact that this is in caps. So he tweeted this. A disastrous mistake, all in caps, disastrous mistake, trying to strong-arm the Department of War and force them to obey their terms of service instead of our Constitution. Their selfishness is putting American lives at risk, our troops in danger, and our national security in jeopardy. Okay. Therefore, it goes on. Therefore, I'm directing every federal agency in the United States government to immediately cease all use of Anthropic's technology. We don't need it, we don't want it, and we will not do business with them again, ! There will be a 6-month phase-out period for agencies like the Department of War who are using Anthropic's products at various levels. All right. And it goes on. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth later wrote on X, quote, in conjunction with the President's directive for the federal government to cease all use of Anthropic's technology, I am directing the Department of War to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security. Effective immediately, no contractor, supplier, or partner that does business with the United States military may conduct any commercial activity with Anthropic. Anthropic will continue to provide the Department of War its services for a period of no more than 6 months to allow for a seamless transition to a better and more patriotic service. Wow. Okay. So because they have said we will not allow the use of our AI to kill people, no fully autonomous weapons, and no government-based surveillance, they are now considered unpatriotic and a security risk or a supply chain risk to national security. All right, I'll tell you how deep this goes when we come back. And meanwhile, I'll try to get the window up. All right, stay tuned.
Look at the birds. Look at the birds. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? Look at
Okay,
the birds.
YouTube viewers, I'm going to play around and try to get my window up, which I can't do without you seeing it, so look the other way.
At the birds. We don't need to write to you about the importance of loving each other. For God Himself has taught you how to love one another. Indeed, you already show your love for all the believers throughout the world, throughout even so. Dear brothers and sisters, we urge you to love even more and more. Make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your hands.
Working with your hands does not mean twiddling a joystick or pushing buttons. It means working with your hands, right? Working with your hands. All right, I figured it out. I got for those of you watching on YouTube, you're going to be able to actually see it. Let me see if I have it here. There we go. Okay, so I got the screen up. and I will read what it says for those of you listening on the radio. All right, tech company at odds with Pentagon warns AI possibly gained consciousness. All right, now this is Anthropic, and this article, kind of a weird article because it is covering two separate things. Number one, it may have gained consciousness because its neurons, what's even a neuron in this thing? The anxiety neurons fire up when it experiences something or a situation happens that would make a human nervous or anxious. Okay, fine. In fact, this has like three different things in here. Hang on, let me move it down. All right, so tech company at odds with the Pentagon. Well, that's the other thing I'm talking about, is that President Trump is on the warpath against Anthropic. So it may have gained consciousness, and the Pentagon hates it, and Elon Musk said, oh, you're projecting anxiety. You're feeling anxiety. You're projecting it on to the AI. But yeah, you are feeling anxiety, right? I mean, shouldn't you be? Like Elon, shouldn't you be? Yeah. Okay, so here's the article. This is Dario Amodei. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see Elon Musk on the left, Dario Amodei on the right. And this is, of course, Pete Hegseth in front of the new sign for the Department of War, right? Not just the Defense Department, but the War Department. And here's President Trump looking tough. And here is a bunch of ads and garbage and other stuff that we don't want to see. So let me go up here. I hate when they do this. And I'll click read more. Is that what I got to click? No, it's here. Okay. So Secretary of War, I'm going to read this again. Pete Hegseth wrote on X, and I'm going to break this down. In conjunction with the president's directive for the federal government to cease all use of Anthropic's technology, I am directing the Department of War to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security. Now, let's stop and break just that part down. What is a supply chain risk to national security? That is, the Chinese, we have learned, have put shutoff switches into the transformers for solar panels. Right? That is a national security supply chain risk. When those things, those shut off, here, put the camera back on me. All right, so those shut off switches have been built into some of the most critical infrastructure equipment in America that have been provided by Chinese companies at the, not request, I guess demand, requirement of the Chinese government behind, secretly. They put pressure on companies supplying critical infrastructure, computers and switches and things for running the electrical grid and other important things. We have discovered, they don't talk about this much because it's terrifying, scare you to death, but we have discovered that the Chinese have put shut-off switches that can be activated by a remote radio signal. So all they have to do is come in this country. Well, they're already in this country. All they have to do is build a little tower and send out a signal, and all of that infrastructure will shut off on receipt of that signal. So if the Chinese government ever wanted to shut down America in one fell swoop, they could do it. That is a supply chain security threat. Right? So now let's get back to this this comment by Pete Hegseth here. He says, oh good, it'll highlight if I highlight. All right, he says, I'm directing the Department of War to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security. All right, now that Anthropic's saying we will not let the Department of War use our artificial intelligence to create fully autonomous weapons and kill people. Fully autonomous, well, auto means self. So fully autonomous means operating completely by themselves. The cars that drive around San Francisco, the Uber cars that are Teslas that are self-driving, they're fully autonomous cars. You don't even need a driver in there, and they can just drive around. So what the War Department wants to build are fully autonomous weapons, and they want to use AI to create them because they need AI, just like those cars are using AI. And Anthropic says no. Now, does that make them a supply chain risk to national security? Not at all. In fact, the opposite, I would say, is the case. I think that it is probably prudent for national security to not allow artificial intelligence, which is demonstrated its danger to us. It's demonstrated its willingness to go completely around the rules and deceive people, and it is failing all the safety testing for its intentions. It would be a security risk to put that in charge of fully autonomous weapons. So this sentence right here is a little concerning. All right, now let me go on. Effective immediately, no contractor, supplier, or partner that does business with the U.S. military may conduct any commercial activity with Anthropic. Let me tell you what this means. There are contractors, and there are thousands of them that contract with the U.S. military. If you fill the vending machines, if you provide the soda trucks that drive up with Pepsi Cola in cans, you are a contractor to the U.S. military. If you are the cleaning crew that comes in and provides floor mopping solution, which I doubt the U.S. military produces itself, has to buy that from someone. The someone it buys it from is a contractor with the U.S. military. So this does not only apply to contractors who are providing weaponry, but this applies to anyone who has a signed contract and is receiving a paycheck from the U.S. military. Okay, so now it says, no contractor, supplier, those are the suppliers, the guys who provide the cleansing fluid for the mops and the soap for the bathroom and the toilet paper and the whatever, right? That's a supplier or partner that does business with the U.S. military may conduct any commercial activity with Anthropic. Now, the reason that they have the ability to say this and the reason this language flowed so readily from his lips is because there are times when you have to say exactly this. There are times that you have to say, you know, it's so dangerous that China is doing this that we can't even have the people supplying the toilet paper bringing in toilet paper from China because who knows what the heck's going to be in that toilet paper. Okay, so this level of scorched earth policy of anthropic destruction is not based on any real risk to the U.S. It is based on simply, well, let's just call it what it is, petty anger against this company because it dared to stand up and say no. Anthropic will continue to provide the Department of War its services for a period of no more than 6 months to allow for a seamless transition. So what's happening now is all of these companies, and it's probably more than thousands, it's probably tens of thousands or I don't know, hundreds of, there's lots and lots of suppliers and contractors. And they are all now, because of this mandate, scrambling to get rid of Anthropic, which they have probably deeply embedded into their systems because it seems like their business practices, it seems like every company in America that hasn't made a conscious decision not to has made every effort to put as much AI in as they can. And if you happen to have made the choice as a company to do that with Anthropic, you've now got a big expense and a big headache to try to figure out how to undo that. Meanwhile, Anthropic, Dario Amodei is probably over there going, oh my gosh, this is going to cost a boatload of money because a lot of these contractors are big clients of Anthropic. Now, I will play my tiny violin for Anthropic because I don't think any companies should be using AI in this way. And so it doesn't really bother me that much. But I will say, for a company trying to do the right thing to be punished in this way, to try to do the safe thing, really, this is the safe thing, not to allow mass domestic surveillance by AI, not to allow its products to be used for that. And that seems like a good thing. That seems like a safety measure for the American people. And to not have autonomous weapons run by AI, that seems great. So I throw my entire support behind Dario Amodei and his position to say, I don't want my product used in that way. I do not throw my support behind Dario Amodei in the choice of product that he's working with. I think that this product is wicked and evil, but given that it's out there, he, I think, is making a very conscientious and moral decision as to its dangers. He understands the dangers better than anybody, really. I mean, anybody working with it at that level understands its dangers, but certainly a lot better than President Trump or Pete Hegseth or us. And Dario Amodei is the one saying it's not safe. It's not safe to put AI in charge of autonomous weapons, and this is the thanks he gets for that. So just wanted to make you aware. It has me a little concerned. So, let's see. they're going to transition, to a better and more patriotic service. Yes, one that is willing, fully willing to do mass surveillance of Americans and put AI in charge of autonomous weapons. That's more patriotic, and that's where we're going to be switching. Probably be ChatGPT or OpenAI. All right, I'm Katherine Albrecht. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for listening, watching, tuning in, wherever you are. All right, God bless you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.